You will have heard the term engagement bandied around a lot in the world of social media, but have you ever actually stopped to think about what it really means and why you should do it, and also how you should do it? Well, I have good news. That's exactly what I am diving into in this week's episode. However, before I do that, before I dive into all the good stuff, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to tune in to Show Up and Be Heard, the podcast that exists to help women like you simplify your business and your life so that you can stop feeling so overwhelmed. I am your host, Becky McAvoy, owner and founder of Be Heard Socials, and I am an award-winning social media marketer and international speaker who specialises in content strategy and organic growth on social media. So if you want to cut through the noise and BS and get practical, actionable advice tailored specifically to make your social media marketing accessible and easy to understand, or if you want to be part of a supportive community where women entrepreneurs can feel connected and inspired to achieve their dreams, then keep listening because you are in the right place. To be the first to find out when new episodes go live and to get more tips like the ones you hear in this podcast, make sure you join my email community through the link in the show notes. Whether you have followed me for a while or you are brand new here, I am so grateful for you. Right then, let's get started with this week's episode and let's chat all things social media engagement. I am quite excited for this week's episode because I have teased to it quite a lot. There's been a lot of solo episodes so far where I have mentioned engagement, and I knew I just didn't have the time to go fully into depth when I was talking about another subject, which is why I decided to dedicate a whole episode to it. But I felt like I kept saying, oh, there's going to be an episode about that soon. Well, now I have finally done it. It is here and you are listening to it, and I can't wait to hear what you think. So let's get stuck into all things social media engagement. Now, to most people, social media engagement means just two things: likes and comments, or basically, simply put, visible metrics of engagement. And that's because those are the outward signs that people are responding to our content. In fact, actually, there's a whole host of other things that also count as engagement on or as a result of your posts and your content. So you need to be making sure that you take those into account too. Other types of engagement could include follows, direct messages, saves, shares of your posts, profile views, web traffic that you are getting to your website. So, you know, being able to track what traffic is coming from social media is a brilliant sign of engagement, because ultimately that can lead to warmer audiences and sales, downloads. Other engagement metrics could include video views. So there's lots of basically types of engagement out there that is so much more than just likes and comments. One of the things I want to talk about sort of now and first, as you know, I'm a big fan of this. If you've listened to previous episodes or if you've ever worked with me, that is the why, because I think that helps us. Like, engagement isn't necessarily, I wouldn't necessarily say it's hard, but it is time consuming and it does take the right strategy to get right. So I think if you know the why, it can help motivate you to want to do it. So simply put, engagement is the lifeblood of social media, because without it, you're just broadcasting. So engagement helps you build a closer relationship with your followers. It allows you to get under their skin and understand what they want and need from you. And it also sets you aside from other brands who ignore their customers, who don't respond to their comments or do their engagement, and it gets you seen by more people. But best of all, I was going to say most important of all. It's not necessarily most important of all, but it is very important. Best of all, the algorithm loves engagement. Because in short, the more you engage, the more people will see your posts. So yeah, that's kind of like the why behind engagement being really important. But another thing I want to say on that is that, and I speak about this quite a lot, and I've spoken to people about it quite a lot, is remembering what social media is actually about and remembering why people are actually on social media. So the average person isn't on there to find out what local businesses are up to, or how they can book a website designer or a graphic designer or whatever it might be. I mean, some people might be on there for that, but actually it's remembering the name. It's called social media and it is designed to be social on. So one of the first questions I will ask people when they say to me, like, how do I get more engagement on my posts, or I need to increase my engagement, the first question I ask is, what are you doing to engage at the moment? How much time are you spending on engagement? And quite often I am met with blank looks, and just sort of people staring back at me. And so I ask the question again. It's like, well, like, how much time are you spending engaging on there? And often the answer is they're not, or they haven't even thought about it. So another thing to remember is social media is designed to be social, but also engagement is a two-way thing. So if you're not doing it yourself, you really can't expect, you don't just have a right to engagement. You can't really be frustrated that your engagement is low if you are not also putting energy in to sort of make that happen. So that is why it is important. Now, in terms of social media, when we're talking about engagement, there's really two main kinds, and that is proactive engagement and reactive engagement. So you are probably familiar with the art of reactive engagement. That is responding to comments and DMs sent to your account. And I imagine most people do that. I sort of joked earlier about, well, no, I didn't really joke because some people do it, but about how it will help you stand out from the people that are ignoring the people that are engaging on their social media. But most people, most small businesses will be responding to comments, and they will be responding to DMs. And that is reactive engagement. They are reacting, you are reacting to them engaging with you. And that's quite simple, really. That's sort of quite basic stuff. But when I said earlier, the first thing that I ask is, how much time are you spending on engagement? That's not really what I'm talking about. I am talking about proactive engagement, and how much time people are spending on that. So if you're not sure what that is, proactive engagement is when you spend time actively engaging on other people's content, and actively engaging with your ideal audience. So this could include things like commenting on your ideal customers' posts. It could be sending DMs or voice notes to potential customers or clients. And I caveat that by saying I'm not saying go straight in with a sales pitch, because everybody hates that. No one likes it. But it could, it could be building relationships. It could be through sending DMs or voice notes. It could also be starting or joining in with conversations on other accounts. It could be using social listening tools to find out brand mentions and respond to things when there are brand mentions. So yeah, it could include loads of different things. It could include going on your stories, for example. So this is one of my favorites. And this is about nurturing your current audience more than growing your audience. But it could include going on your stories and using the features on there to encourage engagement. So whether that be polls or question boxes or the little emoji stickers or whatever it might be, but encouraging people to engage with you and to respond to you, so you are then able to start conversations with them. If you have a social media strategy, it should absolutely include a section on engagement. But to be honest, even if you don't have anything as fancy as a social media strategy, you should just be committing and spending some time, dedicating some time to proactive engagement. Now, what that looks like and how much you do will completely depend on you. And if I was asked this by somebody, I would ask them many questions back about their business, about their life, about their circumstances, because the amount of time someone spends on engagement who is running their business full time compared to somebody who's running it as a side hustle will be very different. The amount of time you can spend on it if you have babies and toddlers and preschoolers at home compared to if you have children at school or grown up children or no children will be very different. So it's about finding what works for you. But the really important thing to remember is to be realistic with how much you're going to grow, and how much engagement you're going to get based on how much time you're actually spending on it. So yeah, if you don't have a strategy or don't currently bother with proactive engagement, I would really, really urge you to factor it into your schedule, because you will be amazed at the impact it can have. I have had examples in the past where when I've worked with one-to-one clients and they've taken me on to do social media management, and as part of that, in the strategy was proactive engagement, was that in the first month that we were doing it, we doubled their number of followers. So you will genuinely be amazed by the impact it can have. And also the dopamine effect it can have, because it rewards your efforts and it makes it feel a little bit more worthwhile. So like I said, how much you do will completely depend on you, but by simply putting in 15 minutes a day, Monday to Friday, is what I do. Like I said, not everyone will be able to commit to that. By doing 15 minutes a day, Monday to Friday, I generally grow by about, if I was to average it out, probably about 50, maybe 60 followers a month, if I'm doing it consistently Monday to Friday for 15 minutes a day. Now, those aren't Insta-worthy numbers of like how I grew by, I think if I put that out on Instagram, how I grew by 50 followers, it's not as attractive as how I grew by 10,000 followers in a month, but it is realistic and it's all organic. It's without paying for ads. Those people that are getting 10,000 a month, I guarantee you, they are either buying fake followers or spending money on ads. No, 99% of the time that's going to be the case, but doing it organically, that's really good. Like if you're growing by 50 followers a month, that's 600 followers a year. I'm pleased with that and I'm happy with that. Like I said, you could do it less if you want to, if that fits around your circumstances. This isn't making you feel guilty, but just find some time to do it. And if you are doing it less, just be a little bit realistic with the impact that it's going to have. Not with the impacts it's going to have, because it's still going to have an impact, but with how fast the impact it's going to have and how much you're going to grow. But the main thing is, don't overcommit. Like, start small, and anything else you do is a bonus. But like I said, I put in 15 minutes a day, Monday to Friday. And during that time, I go on my stories and start conversations with my community. I will go out and, I've got folders and of people. I was just going to say, I'm moving on a little bit to one of my best tips for doing it, but one of my best tips is that I have collections in my, so this is for Instagram specifically, but I have collections in my Instagram of people that I want to engage with. I'm intentional about my engagement. So if you don't know, if you save a post on Instagram, you can save it into a collection, which is basically, you can add it to a folder and you can name that folder whatever you want to. So for example, I have folders for people in Boss Your Socials Club. I have folders for people who are parts of other communities that I'm in. I have folders of people who have similar target audiences to me. And it means that I can be really intentional with my engagement and stick to that 15 minutes a day, because you'll be surprised how long 15 minutes actually is when you're not just doing it really chaotically and getting like falling down a rabbit hole in your feed. So that's one of my favorite tips, to be able to keep it short and sweet. The other tip to be able to do 15 minutes a day is to batch your content ahead. So the only thing you're thinking about day to day is doing the engagement. If you're also trying to create posts and do all that kind of stuff, it gets more time consuming. And that's why I talk a lot about the power of batching ahead and the power of scheduling with your content. But yeah, that tip around collections is really, really powerful. I actually, letting you into a little bit of a secret, I also have a folder on there of muted accounts. And it means that I can mute anybody that triggers a negative emotion in me. But if I want to, I can go and seek them out and see what they're up to. It just means they don't pop up on my feed. So it doesn't trigger, I don't know, any kind of imposter syndrome or comparison in me. And truth be told, some of those people that I've muted, that's not because they're bad people or I don't like them. They're good people, and some of them are my friends, but it might be something going on in my head at the time that triggers something in me that means I don't want to see it in my feed because it makes me spiral. Whereas if I'm actively choosing to go and check it out in a collection, then I've got myself in the headspace to do that. But yeah, it's really good. Like I said, I have folders of the ones that I've mentioned earlier. I also have a reciprocity folder. So people that engage with me a lot, I add them in there so I can go and share the love back with them. What folders you have will be completely dependent on you, your goals, and what folders you go in and engage with on a daily basis will depend on you and your goals. It doesn't mean you have to do it with everyone. But like I said, 15 minutes is a surprisingly long time when you are doing that meaningfully and intentionally. So a few other tips to increase your proactive and your reactive engagement. Proactive engagement, lots of platforms, including Instagram, X, LinkedIn, lots of the platforms have a bell on each user's profile. So when you click on the bell, you'll be notified each time that the account posts. And it's a really great way to quickly engage with your favorite influencers, brands, ideal customers, whoever it might be. Like I said, I don't really turn on notifications because I think they might get lost. For Instagram, I use the collections feature. I use the collections feature because I think that really helps me. But for platforms like LinkedIn, the bell is a really great way to do it, because I'm yet to find really great ways. I think it's my resistance to LinkedIn is I don't think it has as many features as Instagram to be able to really curate your feed and protect your boundaries at the same time, and do things like that. But one of the features it does have is the bell that you can turn on to get notified about when people post. So pick out the people that you like to see a lot of or you want to engage with, and turn on their notifications. Another thing you can do when someone new follows your account, you could take a moment to check out their profile and like or comment on their most recent post. You don't need to go all in with a follow back straight away. You could drop them a DM and thank them for following you. Like I said, this isn't about, well, both of these things actually. Firstly, the liking and commenting on their post or whatever isn't about, when you get followed by somebody and suddenly they've liked 15 of your posts, lovely, but does look a little bit spammy. It's about being meaningful and authentic with it. And same with DMs. Like I said earlier, it's not about sliding into DMs and going, hi, thanks for following me. And then they send you one message back and they try to sell you God knows what, or whatever it might be. It's about genuinely introducing yourself and saying hello. And this kind of comes into, do you remember I did the episode on mindset shift for Instagram and about treating Instagram like your real life shop? If you don't remember and you haven't listened to it, please go back and check it out. I will link it into the show notes. But it's about treating Instagram like your real life shop. So really what I see as the kind of like hello when you connect with someone or when someone follows you is like, if somebody is walking into your real life shop, you would say hello to them, and you wouldn't immediately try and sell them something or whatever it might be, but you just say hello because it's polite, and build a relationship. So yeah, what I'm absolutely not saying is go in with those sleazy sales messages, or start off with a conversation where it's like, hi, and you ask a few casual questions, and then eventually it leads to, do you want to buy my life coaching package or business coaching package? It seems to happen most with them. I'm not criticizing. I know some brilliant life coaches and business coaches, but it does seem to happen a lot with those. So yeah, it's not about that. It is genuinely about saying hello and starting to build a relationship and getting to know somebody and humanizing your Instagram account or your social media account a little bit. So yeah, there's a couple of other tips that you can do for proactive engagement. Some tips for reactive engagement. Now, I said most people do this, but some people don't. So do make sure that you respond to all comments on your posts. It sounds very, very obvious, but it is important, or at least as many as you can handle. If you get hundreds a day, I don't get hundreds a day, so I manage to do it. But yeah, please do try and spend time responding to comments on your post, because people have taken the time to engage with you. So it's polite to engage back. It's like having a conversation with them. Same with DMs, reply to all your direct messages. There's nothing worse than when you reach out to somebody and you get ghosted. You don't want to be the company that ghosts its customers, especially if someone is asking you questions about how to buy from you or work from you. So do always, on platforms like Instagram as well, just every now and then check that there's not anything in your request folder or your hidden messages. I mean, the hidden messages are predominantly spam, but your request folder, because sometimes they do land there. So just take a moment in that 15 minutes that you put in the beginning of the day or whenever you're doing it, and check there's nothing in the request folder, and respond to all of your DMs, because it's really important. Also, and I talk about this a lot, and I did dedicate pretty much a whole episode to this, around writing better captions. So again, I will link that in the show notes if you want to listen to me say more about this, but include a call to action on all of your posts. So ask a question or invite people to DM you for more information, because people are more likely to engage with your content when you give them a reason to. Like I said, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about that because I did a whole episode on it, but I will link to it in the show notes if you want to listen to it. So yeah. Final thing to say, I guess, really on that is be consistent with your engagement. So like I said earlier, what you do will depend on you, but find outside. So if you're just going to do it once a week, put it in first thing on a Monday or whatever, do it once a week. And if you do more, it's a bonus. But be consistent with it, whatever you choose, whether it's every day, a couple of times a week or once a week or whatever it might be consistent with it, because it will make a huge difference to the success of your accounts, your engagement and your growth. It can feel overwhelming at the prospect of doing that. So the key really is to be intentional and to make it part of your daily routine or your weekly routine. Like I said, it depends when you put it in there. So, you could, if you wanted to, engage while you are waiting for the kettle to boil, like whilst you're making a cup of tea or coffee. I can't do that because I don't drink hot drinks. And actually, since we've had our kitchen renovation, we are very fancy, and we have an instant hot tap. But if you do wait for a kettle to boil, just go on and spend a few minutes doing some engagement on your social accounts. Or you could set yourself a 10-minute timer and put your phone down when the alarm goes off. I used to do this when I started doing it to make sure I didn't spend longer than necessary on there, because you can, fall down rabbit holes and get into it and all of that kind of stuff. So when the timer goes off, put your phone down and you're done for the day. You've done enough. You've dedicated some time to it, the 10, 15 minutes, whatever it is. I think the main thing to remember is that it doesn't have to be time consuming, and none of social media does, actually, if you do it right. I have a free download on I should really remember the exact name of this, but how to spend less time on your socials and still have a consistent and engaging presence. So I will link to that in the show notes. And that gives you my 5 top tips to spend less time on your socials. It includes engagement, but it also includes some other things as well, because I am a firm believer that as a business owner, your main goal on social media should be to spend as little time on it as possible. And I know that sounds wild coming from a social media marketer, but it's true. Even for me, we have a million other things to do. We have to-do lists as long as our arms as business owners. So being consistent and engaging on social media is really important. But just as important is finding a way to do it that doesn't take all the time in the world. So yeah, if you want to check out that free download, I will link to it in the show notes. But in the meantime, follow the steps I have and tips that I have shared in this podcast episode and watch your account grow. Thank you so much for listening to Show Up and Be Heard, but please don't go without telling me your name. I genuinely love meeting new people and making new connections. So if you don't already, I'd love it if you'd come find me on Instagram, LinkedIn or Facebook and drop me a message to say hello and let me know what you thought of the episode. The link to all my socials are in the show notes. And of course, if you enjoyed this episode or found it useful, then I'd really appreciate it if you could take just a few minutes to give it a review on whatever platform you are listening on, because everyone I get really does make me do a little squeal and a big happy dance. Finally, more than anything else, please always remember, realizing that you're not actually meant to do this stuff alone is the first step to making it easier. So I'll see you next time.